What's up, y'all? It's another Friday night, late night edition of your favorite happy hour and comics. It's the Black Comic Lords in the building with Wakanda Whiskey and Blurdom. I'm your host, Paul, and with you is my boy, Mark.
What's going on?
Power fisted?
You're
Oh, it
back
disappeared
to
in the
your
dark.
background, dude. You
Oh man,
disappeared.
that disappeared. I was one of the books we're talking about tonight is Night Thrasher that has silhouette, and I'm trying to do my silhouette thing. I was, emulating the Dark Force. So what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, doing good, doing good. Kind of tired. It's late at night, but I'm here.
Sorry for the late start, everybody. I've had a hellacious week. I've been working very hard on the job. I have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of spinning wheels, a lot of spinning plates, and had this interview with Bryan Edward Hill last night. That was phenomenal. Talk a little bit about that tonight, but I need a drink. Still got some more of this Fort Mose yet left.
I got a dude. I can't even see it the way your thing is going.
Oh, well, kind of.
Yeah,
It's the Dark Force, man. It's the Dark Force.
All right. So I think I mentioned this before. This Loch Lomond, that's how I'm pronouncing it. I don't know if that's correct or not, but this was gifted to me. Well, not this specific bottle, but I had a bottle of this gifted to me about 2 years ago. I opened it up 2 Sundays ago. It was gone by Wednesday. That's how
Loch
good this stuff
Lomond.
is.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, neither had I. And it's really inexpensive. It's about $45 to $55.
Well, it looks like you enjoyed it because the bottle's like a third done.
Well, here's the thing. This is my second one. So yes, I am enjoying this immensely. You know, I don't like a peaty scotch, so like Lefroy, I can't stand Lefroy,
I
but this
love
has
Lefroy.
just a hint of peat. It's one of the best whiskeys I've ever had, especially for the price. It is really, really good.
Never heard of it before in my life.
Look it up for all you guys all the folks who are here watching us. Loch Lomond, LOCHLOMOND. It's a very good drink.
Well,
We have
enjoy
anybody
it.
joining the chat?
So let's go see who's up in the chat. James Tomlinson up in the house. Thank you, sir. Autumn Sugar, what's up? John Fortune, what's up, bros? Can't stay tonight, but I would love to share some love.
Hold on. What you got to do, John? We did this show especially for you, bro. Where do you think you going? We might as well shut down if John ain't gonna be here.
You can catch us on the replay, but thank you for doing the like. And how you can make up for not watching the show is also share it on your social media if you would, please, John.
H&H, what's up?
Dr. Wizard, it's pronounced Lomond. Lomond. He's telling you to correct your. All right, whatever. What's up, everyone? Chad Kinsler. Last night episode was epic. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I put a lot of hard work into that.
Did you want to start with that tonight, or do our normal Black Panther, then blah blah blah?
Say it again.
Did you want to start with talking about last night?
Well, yeah. I mean, I will in the sense that we'll talk about.
You should start.
Yes. I will. Gaming while it's hot. What's up? Bot boy. Good evening, everyone. KOS Music, Power, and Respect. That's what's up. Hype Style, salute, happy Friday, man. Look, Friday. I'm so glad
we made it.
Dr. Wizard says again, Le Monde. I guess he must drink this stuff. I don't know. I left off the D.
Le Monde.
Pericles Dragon Balls in the house. What's up, man? All right, fam. Look, so did this interview. Let me share my screen here. Did this interview yesterday with Bryan Edward Hill, writer of.
He dressed up for us.
Say it. What's again?
I said I'm glad to see he dressed up for the interview.
Well, I mean. I wasn't dressed up.
Tell people how you nabbed this interview.
Say again?
Tell the people how it is that you were able to nab this interview with him.
Well, nab. I wouldn't use the word nab, but So there was, damn, I can't remember his name. FJS111, I think is the handle he goes by. He posted a tweet in Twitter with a picture of Ultimate Black Panther and a picture of Blade. Both are books that Bryan Edward Hill are currently writing. And with the question, dear Bryan Edward Hill, how about a series with these two characters? Can you make it happen? And so I responded in the tweet, Bryan Edward Hill, let's talk about this. And then he responded, sure. And I said, go check your DMs. And I DM'd him. And that's pretty much it.
Sounds good.
But in reality, I've been like DMing him for a while to like come on the show.
So. Wasn't he trying to get a restraining order against you?
There's no proof of that. Damn, this shit's really good. Really good. But yeah, it was a really, really dope interview. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, I would highly recommend that if you're a fan of
still kind of runs it, but
if you're a fan of his writing, if you're a fan of Ultimate Black Panther, if you're a fan of the current Blade one we're going to talk about tonight, check out the interview. The dude is insightful. He is funny. Oh my God. Hilarious funny. This dude's a straight cut up. For real. Like, he got mad jokes.
Highlights of the interview from last night. Like
the highlights of the interview. Ask me some questions that you would ask. Say what?
Said, where is he from? How did he get started in comic books? All that stuff that you touched on it last night.
That's not the stuff you want to know. What you want to know is what's going to happen in the books. What's going to happen in the books? Ask me some questions as if he was here. Go ahead. About Ultimate Black Panther and Blade.
You telling me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know what to say. The stuff that I want to know.
You read the books. You're a fan of Black Panther.
I am. I don't need to know future stuff about the books because I look forward. I don't want spoilers. I'm looking forward. I have that anticipation of what's coming next. And unlike a lot of books that I read, these two books, specifically Ultimate Black Panther and Blade, I really look forward to seeing how the storyline is going to resolve, because he leaves things on a very good cliffhanger, because that's basically nowadays what comic books are. Every issue is a cliffhanger leading into the next story. So I don't necessarily need to know what's coming next for them. The only question that I would have had, and we talked about this last week, was the Ultimate Black Panther. Why is his face open? Why is his face mask open?
I didn't ask him that question. What I asked him was questions like, is Ultimate Black Panther a limited series or is it ongoing? He answered that with, it is indeed an ongoing series.
Okay.
There's no cancellation date on it.
Good.
So if you guys want to keep the series going, you got to buy the book, or more specifically, you have to pre-order the book so that those sales numbers will actually count towards Marvel's decisions to whether or not to allow him to keep writing it.
And by the variant covers, at least by one variant cover.
And buy two books if you can. Blade will end with issue 10, which we're on issue 8? 9. So next issue will be the last issue of Blade. However, he's going from Blade to writing Midnight Sun's Blood Hunt. He was asked the question, are you going to continue on Blade after you're done with the Midnight Sun's Blood Hunt, of which Blade is a part of, I believe. He said, I'm not allowed to answer that for all intents and purposes. So I think that counts as probably, maybe, I guess. Because if the answer is no, you'd simply say, no, I've got another project I'm working on. But he said, I'm not really allowed to, I can't really get into that. Maybe.
That's a
possibly.
non-confirmed, yes.
So I don't know, but that's better than a no, is what I'll say. He was asked, would you ever want to work on the regular Black Panther title? Because obviously there's a vacancy now. And he said, maybe. He said, yes, but it depends. It depends on whether he, in essence, said if he would have the freedom to write the type of story that he wanted to write. I thought that was an honest and good answer.
Who's the editor for Ultimate Black Panther? Now that I think about it,
I don't know. I know Will Moss is generally the editor of all things Black Panther. I don't know if that extends to the Ultimate Universe.
I'm looking now because I was wondering that very question. Because it's interesting if he has free reign over in the Ultimate Universe, which isn't obviously the 616, whether or not what the stipulations would be over in the main 616. Like, why would they limit him and what he wants to do?
Angel says issue 9 of Blade came out this week. BCL is mentioned in it. We are?
How so? I read it. I don't remember
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me take a look.
So while he's doing that, I'm looking to see who the editor is.
I think Angel's thinking about Black Panther 10. We were mentioned there. Or one of our letters to the creative team is, or specifically Dr. Ewing, is listed there. So yeah, we got a shout out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, Will Moss is the editor for Ultimate Black Panther as well. So.
What am I looking for? Yeah, right there. Okay. All right. Sorry, went on a tangent. So yeah, it was a dope interview. I'm still trying to process it. I probably need to rewatch it at some point and soak it in because he was hard to sort of keep on track because he's so funny and he goes off into these other tangents about various things because that's what he does. He does various things. He's a screenwriter, a director, and a writer, and a producer. So he's Hollywood and comics, very much like a Rodney Barnes in that respect.
I like the fact that like a lot of the white writers, he has multiple books ongoing right now. So you'll see Tom King, you'll see Hickman, you'll see other white creatives having multiple storylines in different books going on. When it comes to black creatives, I've rarely, if ever, seen that, especially for one company. And the fact that he's got 2 books going on in Marvel right now, I really do appreciate, and I do like the fact that that is happening.
Yeah, he's a talented brother, and we've been fans of him in this space for a while, like even before these 2 books came out. I told him if he had an opportunity to write Black Lightning again for DC Comics, that he should definitely jump on that because his Detective Comics run, I think it's 843. Don't quote me on that. Somewhere around there, in the 830s, 840s. His run there, which is sort of the precursor to the Batman and the Outsiders book, which really sort of starred Black Lightning in the Outsiders. That was a dope run. Tremendously enjoyed it. And his Killmonger series, that's some of the best writing I've seen in comics.
So when that Killmonger dropped about 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't pick it up, but knowing his writing style now, knowing that I enjoy his writing style, I'll probably go back and try to find those. And
yeah, bro, like Killmonger's that book. That's good enough to definitely be a Disney MCU television show. That was good writing, not just good Marvel writing, not just good Black Panther writing. That was good writing. That was a great story that if it had not taken place in the Marvel universe, he could have switched those characters around and did it in some other universe. It still would have worked because of how well it was written. It was.
the way that he writes, I would love to see him on a Mr. Terrific book. Mr. Michael Holt does not get the type of props that he deserves over in DC. Would love to see him.
Dr. Wizard said, don't forget his impressions. This guy was doing impressions throughout the entire interview. Like, he was doing Donald Trump. He did Quentin Tarantino. He did various James Bonds. He is like a comedian, low key a comedian. Angel said, yeah, she mixed it with Black Panther. Yeah. Shout out to Louisiana Kid. Thank you for being here, sir. How do you get to be an editor at Marvel? Asking for a friend.
If your daddy knows somebody.
I mean, I don't know, but from what I've gathered from many of these people I've interviewed after the interviews, friend of a friend of a friend. Nepotism. KS Sakuma, really cool. All y'all got to interview Hill. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, Chicago Vega. Appreciate that. Thank you, Louisiana Kid. Appreciate that too. NBA Live Girl. Speaking of Rodney Barnes, he'll be written the new Star Wars Ahsoka book dropping in June. He'll be writing, yes.
That's something to look forward to. I will add that because I like Rodney Barnes. I like Ahsoka. The series was okay, but I do like the characters. So
I'm lacking too. Nita, get Killmonger. Chariot is a good read for us all as Hill's writing. Yes, I actually picked up Chariot off the shelves, not knowing it was him as the writer, but just based on the cover and the premise. It was like an 80s spy book.
Oh,
it was like an 80s spy book mixed with Knight Rider.
That's right up my alley because I'm all into the espionage.
You should check out the series Chariot by Bryan Edward Hill. Yeah. I think you particularly would like it.
Yeah, I'm adding that now. Yeah.
He didn't pick up that Killmonger.
No, series. Chad, I did not pick it up. Damn it.
How are we doing a show called Wakanda Whiskey and Blurdom centered around Black Panther? He didn't read Kemp.
I did not. I read everything else. Didn't read that one.
Oh, Lord. Afro SF Ian's Comics 78. Greetings, BCL. Love your show. Can't stay long.
Time.
Oh, that's
Shout
late.
Out
that's
across
late.
The pond.
So this is what you do before you leave. Get some sleep. Like the show. Share it on your social media if you would. Greatly appreciate. All right. So let's talk about our reads of the week. And of course, we've always got to start with our dude, T'Challa. And of course, Derek likes to hide everything. I'm looking at you, dude. All right.
Hold on a second. So because this is the last one, we decided we were going to give spoilers for this specific book. Typically, we don't give spoilers. So if you want to give the spoiler warning, we're going to be giving spoilers on this book.
Well, where's my spoiler warning video? If this was alphabetized by Dr. Wizard, I wouldn't have a hard time finding it. But Dr. Wizard likes to make things complicated because that's what he does. All right, so let's get into it.
So the big bad in this book is a creature who used to be human who goes by the name of Kivu Ma. And he is akin to a spiritual parasite where he will suck the souls out of individuals to give him sustenance, to allow him to survive and exist. It is an interesting premise, as Paul has mentioned in this space before, seeing the whole mystical side of Wakanda, T'Challa having to face mysticism is an interesting premise. I'm somewhat disappointed that, Brother Voodoo did make an appearance. I kind of speculated that was going to happen, but unfortunately it did not.
It did not.
But the art is good. I really like the art. The art.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Allen. He did a phenomenal job on the series.
Yeah, I like the colors. I like this Black Panther Iron Man-esque suit that we've not seen before that I can recall. And I really like that. Um, I'll give my impressions of the book and overall series at the end, but I'll let you go ahead and go what you thought of everything of this issue.
Well, I enjoyed Eve Ewing's run. I wish she had more time. I wish she had at least 5 more issues. I wish she had at least the 15 issues her predecessor, who did not deserve 5 issues, had. Because I wanted to see what happens next. She almost left it on somewhat of a cliffhanger on that question. It seems like, one of the criticisms people have, and I think in many respects very unfairly, of her run. I've seen people make postings saying, "Oh well, I don't like her run. It's too slow because I want T'Challa back. I want the King to be back. I want her to fix everything that the predecessor on this character had done." And she was lambasted because we interviewed her and she said, "I'm not going to undo everything immediately. I just don't think I think it's somewhat disingenuous, and it just goes against continuity because you can't just pull a Dallas moment and say it was all a dream. I mean, that's just..."
Real quick, for those who don't know, back in the 1970s and 80s, there was a television show called Dallas, and one of the main characters died. And after he was gone for a season, basically he reappeared, and they said that his wife, who thought that he had died, she had dreamed the whole previous season. So that's what he means by that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So she wants to roll with what she has and take it from there and do her own story. One of the things that I talked about with Bryan Edward Hill last night was the fact of T'Challa's deconstruction over the last 8 years at this point? It's been deconstruction over deconstruction over deconstruction. And I pointed out that for a lot of current Black Panther fans, for a lot of mainstream Black Panther fans, meaning those people who were not fans prior to 2016's release of Captain America Civil War, for those fans, in the comics, the deconstructed version of T'Challa is all they know. If they said, "Hey, this movie was cool, let me see what the comic book character is like," at that time they're looking at Coates's deconstruction of T'Challa.
And
well, actually, if they're reading the first volume, they're reading the deconstruction of Wakanda, and then in the second, and in some ways, I guess tangentially, T'Challa. And then in the second volume, you definitely get the deconstruction of T'Challa because he's made a slave and builds himself back up. And then obviously we have the last run by He Who Should Not Be Named.
Trash.
It was a lot of deconstruction. And there's a place for that as a writer to do that. But when you've had years of it, your older fans, the ones that are used to the traditional version of the character, begin to lose interest in seeing that type of story continue over such a long period of time.
And that's why Ultimate Black Panther has been such a balm for this character, because we are seeing T'Challa the way we expect to see him and the way that we like to see him.
So I think Bryan Edward Hill is familiar with that. He agrees with that. But you couldn't have gone from the end of the prior volume of Black Panther and gone to a story like what Bryan Edward Hill has.
Right.
There'd be no gap. There'd be no bridge. There's no segue. So I think Eve Ewing recognized that, and she smartly said, I have to deal with this somehow, I need to build him back up. Right? It's no longer deconstruction. He's already been deconstructed. He's been stripped of his role as king. He's been persona non grata in Wakanda. So she smartly did something that had never been done before. I'm not going to kick him out of Wakanda. I know the last rider kicked him out of Wakanda. I'm not going to do it. He's going to be low key in Wakanda, but in a part you've heard about, but you've never seen before. Right? She does world building. She shows you a part of Wakanda you've never seen in a way that you've never seen it, from a perspective you've never seen it, from literally the ground level.
She basically made T'Challa Daredevil in Burning T'Challa.
Right, which is one of the more popular runs of the title, the Man Without Fear version, the Deadliest Man. Excuse me.
Breathe.
The Deadliest Man Alive version of T'Challa. And then she invented new characters. She invented these families, the crime families, invented that element. Had a guest appearance from Deathlock, Monet, which is cool. And then in issue, was it 6? She dips into the past and shows you a king that we have not heard the story of, King Mteli.
And you know what? That's one of the things that I personally appreciated most about this run. We know that Wakanda has been around for thousands of years. We know that there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who have had the mantle of Black Panther. The fact that she has introduced someone new into the mythos, who is who T'Challa is a direct descendant of, I really, really, really appreciated that aspect of it. My main criticism personally about this book, about this run, is that we, Black Panther fans, want to see T'Challa back on the throne. And I wish that she would have delved into the politics of Wakanda as a second storyline about things not going the way that they need to go with the current ruling system that they have, to somewhat deconstruct how their government is to bring the monarchy back. That's one of the things that I wish that she would have done in this book.
Well, I think she set the path for him to come back, is what she focused on.
But you understand what I'm saying, though, when it comes to the politics, because she didn't deal with that at all.
No, well, not directly, but she showed the seeds of dissent at the grassroots level, because that's where T'Challa went. He went to the grassroots level to interact with his subjects, which I'm going to talk about in a sec. So he goes in this grassroots level. It's what's cool is when you see him walking through the streets and you hear him overhearing the comments people are making. Oh, this system sucks with this new government. Where's the running water? Why is my electricity not working? Why is crime going up? This never would have happened when T'Challa was king. These are the comments being made in the streets. So he gets thrown out. Think about this. He gets thrown out of Burning Zana, the Golden City, the city that's described as where all the elites live, the rich people, the super technology embracing people.
It's Wakanda's version,
right? That's where he gets thrown out. But the people in Burning Ziti, which are the common people, the working class people, they're like, we're not particularly fond of this new government where this run by all the elites and not by our king, our benevolent king, who was our protector.
He's basically in Chicago.
What?
He's basically in Chicago.
He's basically in Chicago, which is where
he got thrown out of DC, and now he's in Chicago. But what I wanted to see was a storyline involving "quote unquote" DC to show how ineffectual the current government is.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. When I said she set him on the path of reconstruction, not deconstruction, of reconstruction, and how she does that. A couple very subtle things. If you notice in this issue, T'Challa refers to the people as my subjects. My subjects. So he still views himself as king, if not in title, at least in responsibility. That's important because at the end of the last writer's run, he didn't feel connected to the people at all. He didn't feel himself even worthy of referring to those people as his subjects because they trashed on him. But now he refers to them as my subjects. And then we have probably the most important scene for me that I definitely, one of my wants for this title under Dr. Ewing, she actually did. This scene.
Yeah.
She brought back the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. And what's the first thing we see this brother say in Baku? My emperor. Right?
I like that art style.
Last writer
looks. I like the way he looks. I like this art a lot.
The last writer said, "You're not a king anymore. You're out of Wakanda. You're not a government. You're nobody." And what I really hated about the last writer's run, there wasn't a single reference to what just happened in his predecessor's run, which is the fact this guy was made an emperor of an intergalactic empire. No mention in the last writer's run. At least Eve Ewing mentioned it early on, like there was some international criminal dealings with the galactic realm, so we knew that it still existed. And there was some questions about, in my mind, well, if he's no longer king of Wakanda Prime, does that mean he's off the throne as emperor of the galaxy, of the empire? Does that mean that he has been disgraced in their eyes too? And the answer is no, because he's able to call upon M'Baku, who he left as regent of the empire, and bring him in for help with all of the resources of the empire. And the first thing he says with reverence is "my emperor." And he's referred specifically as the alternate history analog regent of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. So he hasn't taken over the role for T'Challa. He's still his regent, his prime minister for all intents and purposes. And T'Challa remains emperor. That says a lot, because T'Challa could have just fled to that empire, right? Oh, you're not going to make me king? Well, screw y'all. Screw you, Folasade. I'm going to go to my empire and be treated with the respect that I deserve. He didn't do that. That says a lot about the personality. He's like, instead, screw that. I'm going to stay and hang out with the people that you have neglected.
What I like about Dr. Ewing's run is that once individuals knew who he was, they showed him, because he was working basically as a short order chef or a dishwasher in this restaurant for pretty much the entirety of the run, and then undercover. But then when they found out who he actually was, they showed him the reverence that he deserves. That wasn't what happened during the previous run. You had people in issue 1 or 2 saying "F you" to T'Challa to his face, and I did not like that. But overall, because we can't spend all time on this one book. As a series, it was obviously infinitely better than what we had last time. It's okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give this run about a 7 for me personally. I like the fact that she showed T'Challa in action. I like the fact that we learned about some other Black Panthers up the line, so to speak. It's missing some things, because we're about to talk about the next book, which is Blade, which is on issue 9. This is on issue 10 of Black Panther. Something is missing for me personally. It wasn't horrible. I don't want anybody to think that. It was a solid run, but it just wasn't great. And there are, again, certain things that are missing for me for the character. So I would encourage folks to go ahead and pick it up, but it was decent but not great.
Where the story leaves off is with T'Challa going off to go explore Burning Zana. This is how I know she had more story left, and it had ended early, unfortunately. because she had whispers of things going on in Burning Zana throughout the entire series. Where Shuri's like, I can't stay, T'Challa. I can't talk to you. There's stuff going on in Burning Zana I got to take care of, and they're watching out for me. They're, and so he's like, at the end of the series, I got to go back to Burning Zana. And I think the specific thing he says, hold on, let me pull it up. Where's that last scene? He says, I received some information from Burning Zana. I need to make my way home, and it is time. Here it is. All right. Sorry. Took me a second to find it. He goes, burned into Chaka, city of my father, city of strivers, of creators, city of survivors, aka Chicago. I came here to meet my subjects. Notice he's not hiding his face anymore. That's what he's doing before. He was hiding his face because he
had a mask.
Yeah. He doesn't have a mask on. I leave having met my neighbors, my friends. This nation is so much greater than I knew. A nation of its people, Wakanda's protectors. How blessed I am to be one of them. So he ultimately decides he's going to go back to Burning Zana to, I guess, deal with whatever badness is going out there and assumably reclaim his throne. She set him on the path. Now, we now know that there's a Blood Hunt series coming out in May, I guess it is. And somewhere between this traveling that he's doing, hilarity will ensue and something will happen with vampires. He's going to become a vampire. That's common knowledge. And then the story will go from there. Whether or not he reclaims the throne through that whole Blood Hunt thing, we don't know. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
So on a scale
What's our next book?
On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give the series overall?
I don't know. I have to process it. I don't want to give a knee-jerk reaction.
All right. Next book.
Before we get to the next book, I want to give a shout out to Bo Biggs in the house. Thank you for your $10 super chat, sir. And with that, you get this. All right. Appreciate it, fam. So Armistead says, wondering if Doctor could write a team book and a singular book at the same time. You mean like when she wrote Champions and Ironheart at the same time? I think she's done that. Kay Sakuma says, I'll get the Blood Hunt in collected editions, but to show on going support won't hurt to pick up the first issue and maybe last. That's what's up. Appreciate it. Just make sure that when you do that, you pre-order them because those are the ones that actually count. All right. So next book.
There were no other comments. That was it.
That was it.
All right. Blade. This book is so very good.
How good is it, Mark?
This book, this series, as I said, we're 9 issues in, and every issue as an individual issue is great. And then there was one issue that I didn't like. I think it was like 7. Something about, I can't remember which one it was, but I just didn't like it. I thought it was stupid. But all the other issues, they build on each other. And every one is just so very good that I'm really looking forward to the next issue. And so basically what you have is in issue 1, Blade inadvertently released this ancient evil entity known as Adana. And he's trying to unring that bell. He's trying to hunt Adana down. who is the embodiment of evil, not death, but evil. She is the embodiment of evil on earth, and he's trying to unalive her. And so at one point, he had to go to Dracula, King of Vampires. I think that was issue number 5, maybe. And Dracula and Blade are mortal enemies, right? Like cats and dogs, Marjorie Taylor Greene and soap and water, just enemies, okay? And so Blade, went to his mortal enemy to say, hey, I need your help. Dracula took him under his wing and tried to school him a little bit. That was probably, for me personally, the best issue in the whole run. But that being said, Blade is still on the hunt, trying to find where she is. And he's given some information and he does some things. And one of the things that I appreciate about the book is the humor. Paul interviewed Bryan Hill last night and talked about how funny this dude is, whatever. The funny translates into his writing, even if it's a subtle way. The books aren't, knee slapping hilarity, but there are points where it's just like, okay, that was cute, that was funny, that made me smile. I dig the art. I dig how Blade is drawn. The artist is Valentina Pina.
It's not the same one that was at the beginning of the series, which is Elena Casagrande.
Right. This art I like. I've had no problems with all the art in there, but Blade right here. Look how cool he looks, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that Wesley Snipes did when he brought the character to live action back in 97, 98. He made Blade cool. I was not familiar with the character during my comic book collecting in the 70s and 80s. The only thing I can remember is some dude with an afro, shades, and a trench coat, hunting down vampires. He wasn't cool. Wesley Snipes made Blade cool. This artist, and during this whole run, they've captured the coolness that Wesley Snipes instilled and infused the character with. Doctor Strange makes an appearance, no spoilers, but it's very well done. Bryan Hill is a very good writer. I'm really looking forward to the very next issue. When it came to Black Panther, as an example, when Black Panther 9 dropped last month, and I knew that this was going to be the last one, it's like, okay, it's going to be the end. Oh, well, whatever. With this one, I am really, really, really looking forward to how he plans on ending this storyline. Bryan Hill is one of the top writers out there to me right now. This book is very, very good.
I agree. I mean, that's why I was so gung-ho about taking his interview. He's literally, in my opinion, one of the hottest writers in comics right now.
Yeah.
The quality of his writing is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The pacing,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he's able to mix humor, action, horror, world building. He's very big on world building. Doesn't get enough credit for that. Insightful, much of the same things that you see in the man himself. If you saw the interview last night, he puts a lot of himself, his personality, into these books. One of the favorite scenes I saw in this book, let me see if I can bring it up here, was his interaction with Satana, right? Is that how you say her name? Satana, right?
That's how I would say it. Because she's the daughter of the devil. And is that the sister of Damien Hellstrom?
I believe so, yes. Sister of Damien Hellstrom.
Yeah.
This interaction that he had with her, I mean, they changed her look up a little bit because she's always, in the past, in the 70s, she was portrayed with like red hair. So this is kind of a new look for her. But he's approaching her with, I need to figure out how I can make Adana come into our realm so I can fight her and try and kill her. Understand, she's at like a level 10 in terms of demons, and Blade is like a 2. So everyone he's asking for help to fight Adana is like, you realize she's going to murder you, right? Like quickly. And he's like, I don't care. I'll shoot my shot. And he goes, I need to make everything evil in the world want to kill me just to draw her attention. That's how I don't know if it's crazy or brilliant. And that's the whole point of the scene, because Satana's look on her face right now is like that same question. It's like, is he crazy or is he actually a genius?
Basically, what she's thinking is, this don't make no kind of sense. But if that's what you want to do, bruh, I'll help you do what you want to do, but that don't make no sense. But Bryan Hill's writing, this, without going too far into this specific issue, this writing right here illustrates to me his humor, because the way he has Satana speaking, that's humor. Like, that makes your situation better. How? Like, yeah.
I mean, the other thing that's kind of cool, with his take on Blade, is showing that Blade is smart, and not smart in the sense of
Tony Stark
or Reed Richards, but he's a few hundred years old at this point, right? And so he's learned stuff along the way.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
What?
100 hundreds of years, or just like 150? Because I thought he was like around 150. I don't think he was over 200.
No, 150 would place him in like the early 1900s or so, or late 1800s. I think.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
He's probably from mid 1800s or so.
So around 200.
He's around 200.
Okay.
So he's learned some things along the way. You would think it's not a matter of his smart in terms of being like super smart and quick-witted. It's more about he's learned a lot of stuff along the way. He's very experienced.
Yeah.
So that comes with knowledge of the occult. That comes with knowledge of tactics, because he's seen everything. He's been through everything. And that accumulated knowledge over, 2 lifetimes adds up to some interesting things for him. He's met a lot of people, his interactions with Satana and with Doctor Strange shows you like he knows people through his travels through this immortality that he's had. So that's an interesting take to see that there's more than one way he can defeat the big bad other than swinging his sword.
Yeah. Blade is cool. The way Bryan Hill writes him is cool. It reminds me, Blade showed up in the Avengers, and he was the sheriff of the vampire city, which was in Chernobyl, which, as you may know, was destroyed by a nuclear meltdown of a reactor. And there was a storyline, I want to say maybe in the Avengers, where the way Blade acted, he was very cool. And this piggybacks on that as far as I'm concerned. Bryan Hill understands this character. Bryan Hill understands black male characters. It's evident the way he writes Blade. It's evident the way he writes T'Challa. And that's why I said I wouldn't mind seeing him handle or tackle Mr. Terrific over in the DC universe.
That would be kind of dope. That'd be kind of dope.
Yeah.
His Black Lightning was dope. Really loved him.
Yeah.
Next book. What are we doing next?
Any comments?
Just put them up. Hype Style says, looking forward to more Blade adventures from this writer-artist team. But unfortunately, we only have one more issue, man.
We got one more issue. That's it. What else?
But we will see him, Blade, again in the Midnight Suns Blood Hunt series that Bryan Edward Hill is writing. So make sure you pre-order that if you haven't already done so. Next book that we have to talk about, going in alphabetical order as usual, is Green Lantern. Now, this series is being written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, who's been doing a phenomenal job. But what I first want to talk about on this book is the damn art.
Art is pretty good.
Wow. The artist name is Montos. That's someone's like Beyonce, singular name.
This suit right here, that's kind of dope. The Green Lantern suit, that's dope.
I don't remember what happened in the last issue, or is why he's now depowered. Oh, that's right. The Revenant sort of infected him. So kind of took his light. And he's been spending a lot of that light power and spreading it kind of thin. Even though the Revenant in the last issue kind of infected him and seemingly, diminished his powers, what's interesting is John Stewart created an avatar of himself in the form of his dead sister to look after his mother so that she does not fully violate his promise to her to leave her alone.
And real quick, John's mother suffers from dementia, and the mother still thinks that her daughter, John's sister, is still alive. He's been dead for decades. I think she died in childhood. It's been probably over 20, 30 years at this point. John created, as Paul said, an avatar of his sister who has independent thought, who has independent will, and is not relying on John to speak or make decisions of her own. I don't know how solid the character is. She interacts with her real world by sitting on things, walking, turning pages of a book, things of that nature. John has, in essence, created life. For me, that is the example of what someone needs to do to be a god. I know a lot of people think that Storm, as an example, is a quote unquote goddess. Okay, fine. To me, she's not, whatever. But John has created life. This entity right here is speaking independent of anything that John has done. And so he's created life. So he is akin to a god, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, kind of, because I thought that too. I thought she was completely independent of him and as her own living entity until we got to this other scene, next page over, where they get a visitor at the house. Because you think they're just chilling back in wherever John's from. I can't remember where it was. But in reality, he's at Steelworks, the company of John Henry Irons. That's where the house is actually located. And if you see, it's a house that is a construct using John's power. So even though he seems to be depowered as he's fighting against the big bad, the things he created prior to him being depowered are still going on. So to Mark's point about him being a god, that's kind of crazy. Like your created stuff, it's not like your powers get shut off and your things that you created get shut off too. He created something, it's still there.
And it works independently of you.
Of him.
It thinks and it responds to the stimuli that's presented with. This creature is having a conversation of its own with John Henry Irons.
But here's the line that she says. She says, "Don't make the mistake of speaking to me like I'm a child. I'm as much John Stewart as Ellie and a child of Oa as well." So she's kind of an extension of him because she's speaking on behalf of John. And she says, "I'm as much of John Stewart as Ellie and a child of Oa as well." So it's kind of interesting. But again, this artwork is phenomenal.
Yeah, the artwork is really good.
Look at my man's face. Look at the detail.
Yeah. That dude looks
Look down
like
to the watch.
The way they have that Green Lantern standing next to John Henry, he looks like Jim Carrey to me.
It's the hair. It looks like Ace Ventura.
Yeah, that is it. But I mean, it's a decent book. I'm going to be honest. This wasn't my favorite read of the week, and I think it's getting somewhat convoluted. The art, as Paul said, was very good. The story is, to me, getting it's being drug out a little bit too much for me. Um, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, this wasn't the best issue of the run so far.
Yeah.
It seemed a little bit too fillery for me. This scene with the girl and on John Irons was, for me, the biggest scene in the book.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But I just can't get over his uniform. His uniform is really, really cool.
Yeah,
Because most of us are accustomed to seeing the Hal Jordan-esque Green Lantern uniform. John has some swag to his, and I like it. But the book was okay. This issue was okay. Any comments?
Okay, Sakuma says Blade and War Journal have been really solid. Glad they're in my pool.
Yeah.
All right. So next book we're going to talk about here is Night Thrasher.
This is Paul's boy.
He is my boy. He is my boy. Huge New Warriors fan. That was my team in the 90s. It was like X-Men, and real close second was New Warriors. At one point, it was the blackest team in comics at Marvel, anyway. Because you had Night Thrasher, Silhouette, and Rage all on the same squad.
Yeah.
I mean, a superhero team by Marvel being run by a young black man who had a lot of Batman type of qualities.
Okay, so let me ask you this. New Warriors Volume 1, which first premiered in 1990. Yes, we had electricity. Yes, we had running water in the 90s. They had a 75-issue run.
Yes, it did. I have every issue.
How many of the 75 issues do you have?
Not only do I have all 75 issues, including the 2 issues in Thor in which they made their first appearance.
Yep.
I have all the subsequent volumes and issues of New Warriors.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, I collected New Warriors. I was a Thor guy. I have their very first appearance in creation.
Jeffrey Thorne says, all 75, baby.
I'm missing.
Wait, hold up real quick. Jeff, next time we do the Wednesday wrap up, if you're around, feel free to come join us. We'll send you a link. Just asking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So of the 75, I'm missing 13. But, I have their very first appearance in the Thor comic book. As I said, I was a Thor guy. I liked the group, but I wasn't enamored with them the way Paul was. I have Night Thrasher's 4-issue limited series. This volume, it's okay for me.
It's
okay. Let me say this. I want folks to support Black books because if we don't support them, we won't get them. And,
yes, but we also want the books to be good.
And getting there, we need creatives to have the opportunity to fail. And in order to have the opportunity to fail, you have to support what may not be top notch, because if you support that and then they get the opportunity again, what they do next may be better than what they did previously. I'm going to be honest. I'm not enamored with this storyline. We get to see characters that we haven't seen in forever. One of the characters is Rage, aka Elvin, whatever Elvin's last name was.
Holiday.
He was basically like a 12, 13-year-old kid in a grown-up body. Think Shazam. He was the Black Shazam. That's what he was. He was a member of the Avengers. He was a member of the New Warriors. He's now the big bad of this book, even though he and Dwayne were friends back in the day, but now Dwayne has to go up against him. And the story kind of doesn't make sense. Elvin is raging, pun intended, against gentrification. And you're not gonna cure gentrification by punching shit. You're just not. Yeah. Uh, the art is cool. The story, mm, mm,
I
mm.
actually have an opposite opinion. I'm less bothered by the story than I am by the art.
See, I
I
like
just I'm not digging the art, man.
art.
And I don't mean to disparage the whoever's doing the art on it. I don't mean to diss you. I just don't necessarily think it's appropriate for this particular book.
One of the things that I said to Paul is the way that Dwayne is drawn reminds me of how T'Challa looks, generally speaking. And he got a strong black male character. He's rich. He's kind of like the Marvel version of Batman. Rich kid, orphan, uses his trauma and money to try to fight the good fight. The art is fine. It's just the story.
It's okay. I guess I may be biased because I'm sensitive because I really love Night Thrasher. Like love Night Thrasher. And love the New Warriors. And I really, at my heart of hearts, really wanted a New Warriors reunion to happen. And the next issue is supposed to have some characters show up. So we may have that. But here's the thing. Somebody asked the question. Let me see if I can find it. It was, oh, yes. Hype Style. Night Thrasher returns nice. What's the secret of his resurrection? Cool memories of the OG team. So he actually came back in, was it Contest of Champions? What was it called?
So basically, here's the thing.
It was like Contest of Champions, where the game master, Maestro, no, not Maestro. Yeah, maybe not Maestro.
The Grandmaster. The Grandmaster? That sounds about right. But he died in Stanford, yes?
He died in Stanford. He was definitely dead. Okay. And so the game master, Grandmaster, whatever his name is, in essence, brings him back. He plucks him out of the time stream before he died and puts him in the game. So brings all the heroes together and have them fight, like the video game. And then when that storyline was done, the characters were returned back to Earth. And he got returned to a point, I think, a couple years after he had died. So all of his friends and family that thought he died, when he came back, he was like, oh man, everyone thought I was dead. The world's moved on without me. And he decided to run off instead of embrace people. And all of his friends and family who were mourning him and they saw him come back and then he disappeared again were pissed off that he was gone. Rightfully so. But what was he doing during that time? What has he been up to? The only story that you had since his return was a really brief 3 issues maybe in a Punisher run where he tried to return to being a vigilante and it didn't work out too well. That's the last time we saw him.
Real quick, for those who don't know, when we talk about him dying, we mentioned Stanford. Everybody remembers should remember the Civil War storyline in Marvel Comics, which was brilliantly brought to live action with Captain America Civil War. In the comic book, in Marvel 616, the New Warriors, they went up against a character named Nitro. They fought this dude named Nitro near a school. Nitro has the ability to explode himself and then reconstitute. He blew up, killed a whole bunch of kids, and killed several of the New Warriors, including Dwayne, aka Night Thrasher. That showed Tony Stark and others that any individual in America who had superpowers needed to be registered and monitored. Steve Rogers, Captain America, disagreed with that. And so that's where you had the two sides coming against each other, those who wanted to register and those who were opposed to it. And so that's when Dwayne died during that whole Stanford incident.
That's what led to the Civil War.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I hope it gets better. The next issue is supposed to have more
it's
characters pop up, so maybe that will be the stuff that I'm really looking for. So as I said, I take my opinion with a grain of salt because I really want the New Warriors back. There was a series that was supposed to come back a couple years ago, not a couple, but several years ago. They were going to bring the team back, but it was, and I disparage using this term because I really don't like this term, but it was the woke version of the New Warriors. And they canceled the book before it even came out. They released the promo pictures and the concepts, and people were like, we're not interested in that. That's trash. And the book ended up not coming out. And it's such a simple formula. You don't even have to change it with new characters. Just bring the original team back.
Okay, so as you say, the original team, I'm sitting there thinking. You had Night Thrasher, you had Silhouette, you had Rage, you had Namorita, you had Marvel Boy, you had
Justice. He goes by Justice now.
Justice.
Firestar.
You had the Bounty Boy. What's his name? Speedball. And then there's one more.
Nova.
No. So there were 8 members.
Of the original team for the most part.
It
was a big team. I mean, yeah. Rage didn't technically come officially until a little bit later. But yeah, Rage and Silhouette were like the last 2 members of the team.
I think Namorita was my favorite character in that team. I like Namorita the best. Yeah. All right. Commercial?
Was that a book? Sorry if I'm going to go to commercial. This is the first time you've ever asked for a commercial. You have bathroom break? You're all right?
I mean, we've been on for an hour, so I mean, I know you typically do commercials.
The bladder going all right?
No, I'm good. I'm straight.
How old are you anyway?
25.
Okay.
Oh no. No.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I don't know what this is. BCL Creatives commercial. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm not putting that. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to play it. I'll stick to something tried and true. Dr. Wizard, you and I need to talk.
This is Derek Harrison of Black Comic Lords, and I'm here with Greg Burnham. You might know him from Tuskegee Airs. He's got several other titles, and this is a new one that's coming out in November.
November 22nd, Little Rock Files. It was a story that we originally did in Noir is the New Black, which is an awesome anthology y'all need to get if you don't have it. But we did a 6-pager in there, and we ended up getting asked to do a full book. So the interiors, I'm holding this one. These are 2 of the covers. The interiors are being done by Quinn McGowan, who did this book. Who did this poster cover. And then Marcus Williams, my co-creator on Tuskegee Airs, he did the art for this cover. And we also put like our original 6 pages in the book, just so you can have everything that we've done so far. It's a 1980s noir detective story that takes place in Little Rock, Arkansas. We actually put some reference some real things that were going on back in the time as far as the drug trade and dirty governors that turned into presidents, but that's a different story. So yeah, check it out, November 22nd. It will be in comic shops. If your shop didn't order it originally, get in there and ask them to get you a copy. We're trying to do some really good stuff with this book, and we appreciate you.
What's up, y'all? We are blues people. We can rap the blues, sing the blues, talk the blues, and of course in comic books, we can read the blues. One such tale can be found in Peter Parker's Spider-Man number 35. This tale is about a little boy living the blues. He finds himself excited about a birthday party and he runs home to tell Mama, but Mama's digging her own blues. He escapes to his sanctuary, his bedroom, and drifts into another world where Spider-Man is real and comes by and talks to him. This book is a reminder of how important a comic book or a collectible can be to anybody, but especially a child. This book pulls hard at the heartstrings, and no matter how many times I see this book in long boxes, I always make a point to buy it. Why? Because I know this kid. You have seen this kid. Shoot, you may have even been this kid. There are thousands of Spider-Man stories, but by far this is my favorite Spider-Man book. So I suggest that you pick it up. I promise you, you won't be able to put it down. If you like this video, share it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, peace.
As my man Rich just said, if you are digging the content of the Black Comic Lords, please do us the honor and favor of liking the video you're presently watching. Just take a second, hit the like button right below the screen there. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to us and you're not familiar with us and you're digging us. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can get more content. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you'll be alerted and notified when we're doing these videos, because I don't often have times to advertise. I don't really have that type of time. And share it. Just hit the share button. Hit it on Facebook or Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Share the video.
Black Planet, Black People Meet, whatever you got.
Wow, you're having flashbacks.
Yep. Last book. Right.
Now, I picked this book up for a really odd reason. I thought this was the ugliest version cover of Amanda Waller I've ever seen in my life.
Right. But she doesn't look like that on the inside. I don't know who the cover artist is, but Amanda doesn't look like this on the interior of the book. And she's not even the feature or focus of this book. But Amanda Waller is, quite frankly, the big bad of DC. And if you've been watching us for any period of time, I've mentioned my appreciation and admiration for Amanda Waller. Why do I appreciate and admire her? She's got absolutely no superpowers. She's overweight. She's a Black woman in America who is running stuff. She's the HBIC. She is nothing but a bureaucrat, but she is running things. And one of the things that I appreciated about this particular issue specifically is that in DC Comics, Trigon is the biggest, baddest demon in DC Comics that I can think of. Over in Marvel, you've got Dormammu, who's one of Stephen Strange's big nemesis. You've got Surtur, who is a nemesis to Thor. You've got Mephisto, who's the nemesis to Silver Surfer, Thor, and others. Right. Chick Fury, I like that.
Chillmonger always got the names, man.
Yes, the Canadian in him. But when it comes to DC Comics specifically, Trigon is the big bad. What I appreciated about this specific book, and if you can pull this up, Paul, on the screen. Again, she is just a regular human being. She's got no powers whatsoever. And in this particular issue, she's sitting up here trying to negotiate with Trigon. Like, he's standing over her. He could literally end her in a moment's notice. The next page, the next image.
This I want to look at this image for a second, just to understand what's going. I love this page. That's the devil, for all intents and purposes.
This is DC's devil,
and in his hand is a contract. And this person walks in with what's his face?
That's Peacemaker. That's Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
John Cena walks in on her.
Peacemaker walks into her office, and they're like, he's interrupting the meeting between Amanda Waller with the devil holding a contract up. That speaks this one page, this one panel speaks volumes as to where Amanda Waller is in the DC universe right now.
Go to the next panel though, because Trigon wants Amanda Waller to do something, right? And Amanda's like, she's not afraid. She shows absolutely no fear. She is talking to the devil face to face in her office. I don't know if she offered him some tea and crumpets or any type of refreshments, but she's talking to the devil and he's wanting her to do something. She was like, okay, so what's in it for me? Listen, chick, I could end you at a moment's notice. She's like, okay, bet. That's the stick. What's the carrot? What's the benefit to me?
She goes, I have faced some of the most powerful creatures in the universe. I'm still here. And he's like, well, okay. The stick isn't working.
Right. So she shows no fear. Look at her. She done got up out of her chair. But like, look, red dude, that doesn't frighten me. What can you do for me? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to pay off my student loans? Are you going to buy me a new Hyundai Genesis? What are you going to do for me? And he's sitting up here thinking about it. Amanda
goes, I'll make you president of the United States. She's like,
nah, I want real power.
I want real power.
Right. And she dares him. Listen, she dares Trigon to reach across the desk. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that she's got all kinds of contingency plans to deal with metaphysical beings. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But she gets the things that she wants through manipulation and intimidation. And I respect that. She's not traditionally she's not considered traditionally a good-looking woman, but she's
really obsessed with her looks.
Wants the way that she wants it, and I appreciate that.
Very obsessed with her looks. So
well, I mean, think about it. She's a Black woman, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are judged how we present ourselves. She's Black and she's overweight. Typically, those are the sisters who are overlooked in our society. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Even though she has those quote unquote strikes against her, she is still in a very significant position of power. And I really appreciate that.
Waller is the next level villainy, amoral, anti-metahuman for DC Comics. There needs to be a year one miniseries based on her. There was. It was just called Waller versus Wildstorm. Definitely check it out. Written by Evan Narcisse.
So it is right now we're on issue 3. It is a magazine size book. I don't know if 4 is coming out or not because I think I asked about that recently. But it's a good read. It's a very good read. But Amanda Waller is one of my favorite DC characters. I want to say she's top 5.
She really is. She really is an undervalued and respected character.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, my first interaction with her came from volume 1 of the Suicide Squad back in the 80s. A lot of folks became familiar with her thanks to Justice League Unlimited, voiced by CCH Pounder, who I will still say should have been given the opportunity to play her live action. But I am a huge, huge fan of that specific character. This is my second favorite read of this week.
What would be my favorite read of the week personally?
So we've gone through all of the books that we've reviewed this week. We had Black Panther. We have.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Black Panther fan. I generally enjoyed the issue. I liked the ending was huge. Black Panther was my read of the week.
Green Lantern, Night Thrasher, Titans. For me, my read of the week was Blade. Really like Blade. You know, all due respect to Dr. Ewing, the Black Panther run, her run on Black Panther was underwhelming for me. It was solid, but it was just underwhelming. Blade was by far infinitely my favorite read of the week, and I'm really looking forward to issue number 10 to see how Bryan Hill wraps this up. But Titans would be my second favorite.
Yeah, for me, Black Panther, then Blade, then certainly Titans. And as an aside, we mentioned that the Amanda Waller part was the best part of that Titans book.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to Tom Taylor. He's writing a good Titans book. Let me ask anyone who's let me ask anyone who's reading Titans right now. Do you miss the Justice League? Because I sure as hell don't. Mm-hmm. Not with Tom Taylor writing Titans. It's just as good.
Yeah.
Titans are just as good. I mean, like, I don't miss the Justice League at all. I'm almost at the point where I might say I prefer the Titans to the Justice League. Is that possible?
Are you reading Justice League versus King Kong versus Godzilla?
No, I'm not reading that.
Okay. I'm enjoying that. I'm reading that. I'm enjoying that. I'm looking forward to the movie that's getting ready to come out. That's good. But like you said, I don't know. When was the last time we saw the Justice League in their own title?
When they died.
Say it again?
When they died. It's like issue 75.
Yeah. But no, the Titans is a very solid book. We're on issue number 9 right now. It's a solid book.
Yeah.
Titans is very solid, very good read. Tom Taylor is another one of those individuals who has multiple books. He's had Marvel and DC stuff going on at the same time. And, going back to the whole Bryan Hill thing, the fact that he's had 2 books going on at the same time, I really appreciate. We need Jeffrey Thorne to have multiple books going on at the same time. So, but yeah, by all means, Blade was my favorite read of this particular week.
All right, so we're gonna go from reads of the week to what you watching.
We already know. For those of us who came of age, X-Men 97 dropped this week. X-Men 97 takes up where the original animated series that dropped in 1992 left off, right? Something that I discovered, and I've mentioned in this space before previously, I never used to pay attention to who did what when it came behind the scenes. I just enjoyed the subject. I just enjoyed the art. I recently, and when I say recently, I mean this past week, just discovered that the person who directed every episode of the original X-Men cartoon was a brother, or is a brother, by the name of Larry Houston. A brother, I'm not going to say he created that world, but he directed every issue, every episode. And outside of Batman the Animated Series, this was one of the best cartoons of the 90s, bar none. It has a very strong nostalgic feel to it because it was so very good and it piggybacked on the source material, i.e. the comic books. Larry Houston did a phenomenal job with that original series. Other than the last season, which sucked because they switched to a different animation studio, seasons 1 through 5, I think it was 6 seasons. Seasons 1 through 5 or 1 through 4, whatever it was, were just brilliant episodes. Every week came on Saturdays on Fox Kids. I was in the military when the series first dropped. And if I wasn't out in the field or doing something, partying somewhere, Saturday mornings, I was watching the X-Men. And I've recently started watching it on Disney Plus. If you have access to Disney Plus, highly recommend the original ones and the 2 episodes of X-Men 97. I recommend.
Hold on. I'm still wrapping my brain on this. Did you say you were in the military in 92?
Yes.
And me, I'm 56 years old. Damn! I'm sorry.
You just were waiting to play that. How long have you been waiting to play that? Oh, a while.
I mean,
Yeah, you've been waiting to play that.
What
But,
you talking about?
but in 1992, your ass was in college. So let's be clear about that.
yeah, I was still a child.
Paul, you were in college.
Grown ass man, brother.
Paul, you were in
In
college.
the military.
Taking classes. So I don't even want to hear that shit. But that being said, X-Men 97, the first 2 episodes of that season have dropped. Now I'll be perfectly candid. I'm not a huge fan of the animation because it's different than what we saw for 5-6 seasons during the first run.
Slightly. I mean, it's not.
It's hugely different. Technology has advanced significantly.
Well, that's
it's
true.
different. It's different. But when you get past the animation, the story is great. Episode 1 starts with introducing Roberto da Costa. I have an issue with the way that he's drawn, and I'm not a huge fan of the voice actor of that character.
Yeah.
Everybody else is fine. Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, is doing things that we've never seen him do before. He's using his visor to get out of the way of attacks. So he will basically moonwalk using his visor to push him backwards out of harm's way. We've never seen him do that before.
What was also dope was seeing him jump out of an airplane and not worry about using a parachute because he could use his eye beams, his concussive blasts to slow his descent so that he can land without a parachute, which also proves the point to be more comic accurate that his beams are not laser beams of heat and energy. They're concussive force,
right?
Which has always been sort of not done right. Even in the movies, they blast stuff and it'd be burnt at the edges and steaming.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not how his power works.
Right. One of the things about episode 1 that I'm not gonna lie, it got me right here in the feels was that Scott, after he landed, they're about to attack somebody. And he was like, "To me, my X-Men." I was like, "Oh snap!" I got kind of hyped at that. I got kind of hyped at that. Yeah.
As good as the first episode was, the second episode was man, that was some writing.
It mirrors episode 2 mirrored Uncanny X-Men 200. If you have Uncanny X-Men 200 in your collection, that's basically episode 2 of X-Men 97. And they did a lot in that one episode. It was very good. It was very good. Shout out to Four Deadly Venoms, serving in the Army 2 in 92. I was in the Air Force. Thank you for your service, brother. Appreciate you.
I will be happy to provide both of you your AARP cards.
Paul. You are right.
I would say, Quality, with the exception of Manhunter, all the JLA members are very busy individuals. Force beams. Yes, that is what they are. Salute to Mr. Houston. Glad to read interviews about his work on the X-Men show and going further back with the Marvel cartoon shows of the 1980s, Spider-Man, Amazing Friends, and G.I. Joe. I didn't know he did G.I. Joe too.
Yeah. Okay, so check this out. Paul Dini and what's my other dude's name with Avengers? I didn't mean that, but with Batman, we heard a lot about Paul
Bruce
Dini.
Timm?
I'm sorry, Bruce. Thank you. Bruce Timm and Paul Dini were the people who brought us Batman the Animated Series, which is hailed by a lot of folks as one of the best superhero cartoons ever, and I'm not necessarily going to disagree with that. Batman the Animated Series probably is top 5. I would put X-Men number 1, Justice League Unlimited, and probably Young Justice above Batman. But we used to know about Bruce Timm and Paul Dini all the time, even back then. Larry Houston, I never heard of until now. So that brother deserves his flowers. He deserves his respect for bringing us something that was an integral part of a lot of our nerd culture back in the 90s. Mad respect to Larry Houston.
Right. Although He was also the storyboard artist on Ultimate Avengers 2.
He wasn't the director. The Ultimates 2.
Ultimates 2.
Okay, so what Paul is saying, and without saying it, the Ultimates 2 sucked. It just wasn't a good cartoon.
They can't all be winners. The rest of his
Ultimate-
resume is absolutely outstanding and stellar.
The
But that was
Ultimate,
not one of my favorite movies, admittedly.
the Ultimates cartoon, number one. The Ultimates 1 was based on the first 12 issues of the Ultimates comic book, and it was brilliantly done.
Absolutely brilliantly done.
The Ultimates 2 was not good at all, even though it introduced Black Panther, T'Challa in the series. They had him they had him change into listen, I don't have
Don't
five
hurt
of these,
yourself. Don't hurt yourself.
yeah, I don't have 5 of these drinks, so don't judge me. But basically, he would change into a cat. Instead of putting on a mask, they had him metamorphosize into a it just was dumb. It was very, very bad. It just wasn't good. But you know, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was one of the cartoons that I watched as a young child.
Oh, in the 80s. That was dope cartoon.
That was you had Spider-Man, Firestar, Iceman. They were roommates. They would go out, fight crimes together, blah, blah, blah. It was great. I did not know that Larry Houston's work went back that far. So
I didn't
again,
know until you just told me that right now.
right. Mad shout out. You got to research these people, give them their props, give them their respect.
That was honestly the first time I ever heard about mutants was on that show.
You got, understand something. He directed every episode of X-Men. Every episode. The late, great, what's my man's name? Oh, God. Who, the Milestone Universe?
McDuffie?
Dwayne McDuffie directed several episodes of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and they were great. Larry Houston directed every episode of
Jeff Rocker disagrees and says Superman, Spider-Man, and Friends was whack.
Of the X-Men. Well, Jeff Rocker, you're whack. Thank you. How about that? Damn it. Don't talk about shows from my childhood. I loved Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. You put up his picture, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. So what was the other television shows? You had some other shows you want us to talk about.
The other one that just dropped on Hulu was the Freaknik documentary that dropped. Yes. Right?
Oh, Lord.
So, if you can't shut up, if you came of age during a certain time period,
if you old,
Freaknik was it. It was the party event of the spring here in Atlanta, Georgia. I got out of the military in 1993. I started at Morehouse in 1994. Spring 94, April specifically, was the very first Freaknik that I attended, and it was the best time that I ever had. Biggie Smalls performed at Piedmont Park. This was an event. It just, Freaknik was phenomenal. And this series, it's only an hour and a half, and quite frankly, it did not do the whole time period justice. It should have been longer. They should have had like 2 or 3 episodes discussing several different aspects of Freaknik.
So you're saying that people who are displayed in the documentary will not have to prosecute.
Statute of limitations of anything would have run by this point. But
wow.
Back in the day, there were several Black-centric events. You had the Penn Relays up in Pennsylvania. You had Freaknik here in Atlanta. You have Black College Reunion down in Daytona that Paul and I went to a couple of times.
Hey.
Paul and I went to a couple of times. And then you had the Kappa Luau, which I think was in Galveston, maybe.
And in Miami.
What? That wasn't the Kappa Luau. Just the Kappas on Miami did something, but that wasn't considered.
You only say that because you didn't actually go.
That people traveled for. People travel for Black College Reunion in Daytona. People travel for Freaknik. People like I would sit out in front of the house of one of my boys who stayed over by Morehouse's campus, and it was like a car show. And you would see cars from California, Texas, like literally all over the United States. It was a very magical time. If you have an hour and a half to spend, if you have access to Disney and or Hulu, you will be able to find Freaknik: The Untold Story, and I would encourage you to watch it. It was a very, very good time. Very good time.
Didn't expect this, but great that Mark was able to catch Big Papa.
Listen, I was there when Biggie Smalls was performing at Piedmont Park. Yep.
I was in Detroit the whole time the 90s Freaknik era was going on. Never made it down there. I deeply regret it, but I don't regret never having an arrest record. It's not the arrest record that gets you in trouble. It's all the illegitimate kids.
Right.
Mark wanted the Dark Phoenix saga.
I don't even know what the hell that means. Damn it, chill. But here's what's crazy. Gals, that's
also
what
says Kappa Beach Party.
Yeah. I never went to that. I wanted to go to the Penn Relays and I wanted to go to the Kappa Beach Party, but I never went. But what you have to understand that back in the 90s, there was no reality TV. Let me rephrase that. The only reality TV that we had back in the day was The Real World, which is on MTV, which was basically white centric, right? We had quality Black shows. Jamie Foxx, Mark,
A Different World,
Cosby Show, A Different World specifically, and that's what I want to mention. In A Different World, they mentioned coming to Freaknik, and that's what drove. There was no social media. There was no texting people to say, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" Freaknik blew up because of word of mouth. You know what I'm saying? You have people who were here in Atlanta calling back home or whatever and saying, "Hey, we're having a party this specific weekend. Come on down." It started with the AUC's. AUC stands for Atlanta University Center, which is comprised of Morehouse, Morris Brown, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, and the Morehouse Interdenominational Theological whatever, right? But you had people calling other individuals saying, "Hey, come to Atlanta this weekend." And A Different World was one of the shows that drove Black college attendance. There was a study, this was the 30-year anniversary of A Different World being released, right? And I saw a statistic that said, from 1974 to whatever year, admission to Black colleges increased, blah, blah, blah. But during the time of A Different World, the attendance at HBCUs increased like 50% because it showed us what we could do when we are together. It's nothing like what we have now with all the trash TV. And so when they mentioned Freaknik on A Different World, that showed people across the country like, "Oh, what's this event?" You couldn't look it up on the Googles. You had to ask somebody. And then people said, "Hey, let's load up in a car and go to Atlanta this specific weekend." It was always the third weekend of April, which coincided with the spring break of Morehouse and the Atlanta University Center. It was a very, very good time. Jalen Rose, who is a former member of the Michigan basketball team, former member of the NBA, blah, blah, blah. He was interviewed in the stories talking about how he won a car like on Thursday, loaded it up on Friday with him and his boys, and drove to Atlanta to participate in Freaknik. It was a very, very good time. There was good, there was bad, but if you have access to Hulu and or Disney Plus, I would encourage you to watch that show. The 90s was a fun time because there was no social media. So you could do stuff and you wouldn't have to worry about it being posted all over the internet for people to see. That's the cast, what he's showing right now. That's the cast of A Different World. What I didn't realize is that they were going on a tour to celebrate the 30-year anniversary of the release of the show. They were here in Atlanta, and I had no idea because I definitely would have gone. from bottom left to right, you have Jasmine Guy. Her father was a professor at Morehouse, who I had for religion. Next to him is Kadeem Hardison. Next to him is Ron Bell, who's an alpha. Next to him is Don Lewis. Up top, I can't remember the young lady who played Kim. What was her name? Do you remember? Look it up while I'm talking. But in the middle is Cree Summer. Cree Summer deserves her flowers. Cree Summers is the voice queen. She does a lot of voice acting across multiple cartoons and commercials and things of that nature. She's the female Mel Blanc, right? She does a lot. You may recognize her from The Kids Next Door. She did a voice on Batman Beyond. She's just been all over the place. And then next to her, her left, our right, is Glenn Thurman, who was Colonel. What was his name on the show? Colonel. Do you remember? I don't remember what his character's name was, but something that people may not know is that man in the cowboy hat next to Cree Summers was married to Aretha Franklin back in the 70s, maybe the 80s. But most recently, you may have seen him in Percy Jackson on Disney Plus. But that's
playing the professor.
Yeah, but he was Colonel. He was in the military. He did the ROTC. I just can't remember his name.
Yeah, he was a Vietnam vet on the show.
Right.
Damn, why can't I remember? He was a math professor.
Now you're gonna make me look it up.
Oh, jeez, I can't remember the dude's name.
But that's the cast. That's the cast of A Different World. And A Different World was a great moment in television for the years that it was on. Very, very good. Let me see what it is. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, watch that show. There's a couple other shows I want to talk about.
What?
So, hold on a second.
Those other two you sent me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I think it was originally on TNT, but the first one is The Lazarus Project.
I don't know anything about this show. I don't get to watch television.
Right. So, The Lazarus Project it's on season 2, just finished back in January. I want to say each season is about 8, maybe 10 episodes.
Is this that Shamir Anderson dude?
No, that's not Shamir Anderson. That's Papa Isidou. That's how I pronounce his name. He was the son in Gangs of London.
Oh, he looks a lot thicker here. That's weird.
Yeah. So, if you have not seen the Gangs of London, highly recommend it. Me, Paul, and one of our other boys watched it during COVID when it first dropped around 2020. Phenomenal show. But in The Lazarus Project, he plays an agent of an organization that controls time, basically. Think of Groundhog Day, right?
Wait, hold on. Here's the answer, hype style. Kim was Charnel Brown and Glenn Turman played Colonel Taylor. Thank you.
Yeah, Colonel Taylor, thank you. That was
going to bother us for the rest of the night. Appreciate
Charnel Brown is fine. Charnel Brown is fine. Yes. But The Lazarus Project, isn't that true? But there are tapes across the nation that capture breathing. Yes, I have one. I do not have a VCR to play it, but I do have a tape. I have a couple of tapes. The Lazarus Project is basically a mix between Groundhog Day and there's something else I was going to compare it to, but I just can't remember what the other thing was at this point. It's a very, very good show, and it is led by this brother whose name, again, is Papa Isidou. That's how I pronounce it. It is an extremely good show. It's a sci-fi show. It's about time travel, is what it's about. And
how can it be about time travel and it leads a black man? There's no black time travelers.
Right. but it's a time show. It's a time travel show that stars this brother right here, and it is very good. I highly recommend it. It's a British show. I don't know what else to say without spoiling it. Basically, the organization that he works for, whenever something bad is about to happen, let's say a nuclear explosion is about to happen, and they know it's about to happen, they have the ability to go back in time to prevent that specific event from happening to save untold number of lives. And there was something that happened to him in his personal life in season 1 that made him kind of go off the rails to try to have a result that was to his benefit, that wasn't necessarily for the benefit of all mankind, but just for him. The show is great. The show is very, very, very good. So I highly recommend The Lazarus Project. It was on TNT. I watch it bootleg, so I don't know how you could watch it, unfortunately. But if you can find it, I highly recommend The Lazarus Project.
Let's see. And the other show you wanted us to watch was
Capture.
Isn't it the same dude?
That is the same dude. Yes.
Yeah, that's how I remember him from Gangs of London. That's how he looked.
Correct. So The Capture is a show that he stars in season 2. Season 2 is about him. Season 1, the lady that you see right there in the middle, she plays a detective with the London Police Department who's investigating a specific crime. And this has everything to do with AI, false flags. I don't want to say much more than that because I don't want to ruin anything for you guys. But if you have access to Peacock, I highly recommend the show because, again, it has everything to do with espionage, which I'm a huge fan of. It's a very, very good show. And season 2, Papa Isidou, the gentleman who you see, he plays a politician in London who's trying to be the prime minister of London. He's trying to be basically Tony Blair. Something happens, and the lady in the middle is trying to figure it out. It's very, very good. I highly recommend The Capture as well. Lazarus Project and The Capture. Lazarus Project is 2 seasons. The Capture is 2 seasons. Both of them are older. They're not ongoing right now. But I do recommend both of them. Absolutely.
All right. Well, that is our reads of the week.
Well, not read, but what we're watching. Yep.
Reads. Sorry. Television. What you watching?
Yep.
It's late. I'm tired. Thank y'all for showing up. There are lots of things you can be doing right now. Lots of other shows you can be watching, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.
Yep.
I hope you all have enjoyed the show, and please give your thanks if you liked it by liking the video, sharing it on social media, and if you're new to us, again, please subscribe to our channel.
If
Mark?
you like, shout out to my future ex-wife who's out there watching somewhere. And thank you guys for joining us. This was a tight show. 2 hours in and out. I like this. This is the way it needs to be.
I'm sure your future ex-wife is somewhere in Canada.
No.
Probably hanging out with you.
Close. Yep.
Culprits, y'all, on Hulu. I haven't heard of that one. We're going to have to look that one up.
Yeah.
Get some rest, Paul, and thank you, Mark, as well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Very much.
So with that, everyone, Black Comic Lords, we out.
Yeah.
We got you.